Regulations that we expect to be adopted before the season starts. That's why we're taking weekend reservations on some properties. But everything I'm telling you is still tentative at this time. It's not actually in the state registry yet, but we don't anticipate any problems. So the changes that we're making is the regular season, the bow hunting season in Suffolk County is going to be extended to January 31st, so it'll run straight through from October 1 to January 31. It's going to be concurrent with the firearms season. The reason they're two separate seasons is so when you're out bow hunting, you don't need a town permit. Landowner endorsement means you can hunt on property smaller than 10 acres on private land and things like that. So you don't need a town permit if you're bow hunting for private land. It's also going to expand the special firearms season to include weekends. It's going to start the first Sunday in January every year. So this year it'll be the 4th. And it clarified some of the town permit requirements. So if you hunt private land, there used to be a restriction where you could have 1 hunter per 10 acres and no more than 5 per 100. That stuff's all gone. It's up to the property owner to decide how many guys hunt his land, because a lot of times hunters aren't on the property at the same time, so there's no reason to restrict it. You could have more guys going out, offer more opportunity. So just like the rest of the state, it's up to the property owner now. But you still do need 10 acres. Can't hunt parcels smaller than 10 acres. And we also increased the permit quotas, so that's going to have some impacts on state lands that we'll go over now. So, biggest one is that on many of the DEC managed properties, we are going to take weekend reservations. So Otis Pike, Rocky Point, Sarnoff, Barcelona Neck, West Hampton, and Henry's Hollow. Or some people know it as West Tiana. It's Henry's Hollow to us now. Those ones will all have 7-day-a-week reservations for the first 3 weeks. All other properties, so Hither Hills, Montauk, Noyak, those aren't our properties. Those are owned by someone else. They want to keep it 5 days a week. They don't want to do weekend hunting there just because of conflicting user groups. So those are only going to be 5 days a week. We are taking reservations for these tentative dates for the season. If you make a reservation on a weekend, just know that if something happens outside of our control, I can't guarantee you that that's not going to get canceled. If you make a reservation for a weekend and something happens that hangs this up, we don't anticipate it, but if it does happen, you'll have to come back and make a reservation for a different weekday that's still open. So you're going to be making it after a whole bunch of other people make reservations. We don't expect that to happen. We wouldn't be taking the reservations if we did, but it's a risk you're taking, so just be forewarned. Don't get mad at us if that happens, but we don't expect that to happen. Bow hunting will not be allowed on any of the firearms properties, so that includes archery-only spots on Rocky Point, Otis Pike, things like that. So if it allows firearms hunting on any of the property, it's closed to bow hunting. So even if you have a town permit, you can't go out bow hunting. But we do have plenty of other places that are going to be open until January 31st that are archery only, so you can still go to those properties. And there's a list right here. Those ones will still be seasonal access permit only, no check-in for like Brookhaven, Wildwood, places like that. Montauk State Park is no longer going to allow hunting on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. They had a conflict with some seal watching groups, so just keep that in mind when you're on cooperative hunting areas, that how you present yourself to the public affects everybody, because there was a run-in and now they decide, you know what, it's not worth their hassle. So just keep that in mind on some of the co-ops. This is the big one too. Secondary town permits are going to be issued starting day 1. So you're not going to be restricted to one township. Before, you had to wait until the 3rd week of the season before you could hunt any other township. Now starting day 1, if there's an open spot anywhere, you can go wherever you want to go. Obviously, Hither or East Hampton stuff you're not going to be able to go to unless you go all the way out there. But you can. You don't have to have before you had to have the town permit before you could even enter the lottery. Now we're going to have one lottery for all the properties. It's all going to be done in one shot because there's no restrictions by township. And lastly, on Otis Pike, we had to make some concessions for waterfowl hunters. We have very limited fresh water that's open that time of year. So spots 17, 18, 19, and 21, I think only 2 of those were actually shotgun spots, but those are just closed, period. So just keep that in mind if you're going to Otis Pike. There are a couple that are closed that have historically been open. We closed that whole block, so it's just waterfowl hunting, because they used to have weekends. Now they don't have weekends. So that was the compromise we came up with. So does anyone have any questions about these new rules?
That bow hunting, if you have private property to hunt on in January, you can hunt.
Yep, assuming these go through.